Good morning, and thank you for joining us for All Things Heart. I'm Alexis Del Cid. We are working hard to bring you some pretty incredible shows this coming fall. Until then, we'll be sharing some encore presentations of our favorite episodes every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. all summer long. So sit back and enjoy this best of All Things Heart.
I had little fuzzies or floaters. I don't know if there's a medical name for it, but everybody gets them.
Floaters, we've all heard of them. Maybe you get them too. There's something that we usually just blink away. But when Pat Carney's ophthalmologist looked into his eyes, he saw something deadly. On today's All Things Heart, the connection between your eyes and your heart, and how a trip to the eye doctor saved his life.
From the University of Kansas Health System.
I am amazed. The team here is great.
I came on a Tuesday, and then by Saturday I had a heart in me.
I have never seen a group of people work together so good as this team of heart specialists. I mean, it's just unreal.
Stand by to set up show.
And the Dolph C. Simons Jr. Family Broadcast Studio.
Roll.
Always makes you feel like you're the most important patient on the planet.
I felt heard, and that was really big.
This is All Things Heart.
I'm Alexis Del Cid. Welcome back to All Things Heart. Here's what we're talking about today. Imagine this surprise. You go to a routine eye exam, the doctor looks into your eyes and tells you you're about to either have a major stroke or a heart attack. It happened to Pat Carney. What that ophthalmologist saw that indicated a potentially deadly heart problem. Plus, we're taking you on a vicarious trip. We're taking you behind the mask with our doctors to their favorite spots when they're not saving lives here at the health system. We love it when you send us your questions and comments. You can reach us live through the program all show long on YouTube, Facebook, and the All Things Heart email. You will find the links right here on your screen. The man you're about to meet made an appointment with his eye doctor because he was experiencing some blurry spots in his vision. Many people get them from time to time. They're often called floaters. But when the ophthalmologist looked into his eyes, he saw a problem connected to his heart that could have killed him. Christina Medina shows us.
When Pat Carney looks at photos of his mother, he cherishes the memories. He spent the last few years taking care of her.
My mom got sick down in Florida, so I gave up everything and moved in with her. So I kind of put my health on the back burner.
After she passed, Pat came back home to Kansas City, and that's when he noticed a change in his vision.
And I had little fuzzies or floaters. I don't know if there's a medical name for it, but everybody gets them. I figured at age 60, maybe it was just, I needed glasses or something was wrong with my vision.
Something was wrong, all right. Doctors at the University of Kansas Health System Eye Care Clinic put Pat through a battery of tests before delivering the news.
And finally, the doctor came in at the end of the session, and he said, Pat, we got an issue. He said, you have severe bleeding and severe swelling behind your eyes.
Pat was admitted immediately and spent 4 days in the hospital. His care team kept close watch. They ran tests, stabilized his blood pressure, and let Pat know he had a close call.
The head doctor came in after the second day. She said, Pat, I'm going to be honest with you. It could be a day, it could have been a week, it could have been a month, but one of three things was going to happen to you. You were either going to go blind, you were going to have a major stroke, or you're going to have a major heart attack if you didn't come in and get checked up on. And boy, that was an eye-opener for me.
The doctors told Pat it was time to put his own health first, lose weight and reduce his stress. Advice Pat practices and now prescribes to others.
Go and see your doctor. I can't stress it enough, especially as you get later on in the years. I guess I could get away with it in my 20s and 30s, but you get to be 50, 60 years old. And again, if I don't go see the doctor, something bad would have happened.
Well, thank goodness Pat saw that doctor. We are pleased to welcome Pat Carney on today's show, along with the ophthalmologist he saw, Dr. Radwan Ajlan, and we have our cardiologist, Dr. Raghuveer Dendi. Thank you so much for being here with us. I want to start with Pat. Pat, how are you feeling right now?
Oh, feeling great, feeling fine. But at the same time, when I went in to see the doctor before, besides the blurry eye, I was feeling fine then too. But no, lost a little bit of weight, still have a ways to go, but doing a lot better.
Dr. Ajlan, I want to get right to what you saw that was so alarming, because I might have looked into Pat's eyes and seen an eye. You saw something that indicated he was in serious danger.
Correct. So in the eye exam, I saw that he has like some retinal hemorrhages and swelling on his both optic nerves. Those were like highly risky situations where you're trying to figure out what's going on. Is it a hypertensive emergency? Is there a stroke? Is there a brain tumor? So those were scary moments.
We have some images we want to show our viewers, and I want you to talk through these. Before, I want to just ask you, if a regular person, not a doctor, had just looked at Pat in the eyes, would they have seen red, or was that something only your scans could see?
It's something we can only see with our machines and scans, because we really look inside the eye, not on the outside. So we have a big microscope and a special lens, and I'm looking inside his eye to the live tissue and live blood vessel.
That's when you saw. So is that a scan of Pat's eye?
That's a photo of Pat's right eye from the inside, and we can see the nerve there near the center, and it's swollen margins. And if we look carefully to the retinal periphery along the blood vessels, we see small areas of retinal hemorrhages as well.
Wow. And Pat, you said your blood pressure was so high that at some point blood was being pushed through your eye portal. I might be saying it wrong, so correct me if I am.
No, that's correct. But when I got to the University of Kansas Hospital after the doctor sent me there, you check yourself in the emergency room, and the first thing they do is take your blood pressure. And the young man who was taking my blood pressure took it the first time, and he said, well, that can't be right. So he tried it again, and he said, I don't think this machine is working, right?
Oh my
so he went and got another machine and took it a third time, and he said, my God, your blood pressure is out of control. And I forget exactly the reading, but it was over 200. And so, and I've always had good blood pressure over the years. And so they rushed me back and set me up on an IV and some medication, and spent the next 4 days in the hospital.
Dr. Raghuveer Dendi is a cardiologist here at the University of Kansas Health System, and I'm so happy that you're here with us on this episode, because we always talk about, and we talked about it at the beginning of the program, the eyes are the window to the soul. How often are they truly the window to someone's heart?
Very good question. It's very intriguing because the heart, the cardiovascular system, if you take it in as a whole, involves all the blood vessels that go with the heart, right? So every single part of the body needs blood flow. So the eye, or the retina, the back of the eye, needs blood flow also. And so there are small blood vessels going into the eye, back of the eye, which is the sensor, which is a very sensitive part of the eye. And anything that's going on with your cardiovascular system, the heart and the blood vessels, may show up in the eye. That's the only place where you can actually see blood vessels as a whole without actually opening somebody's body to look at it. So the retina, or the back of the eye, is a very, very important area to look at what's going on with the rest of the body. And it's truly, yes, a window to the cardiovascular system, or the heart and the blood vessels.
That is so interesting. I think a lot of people watching are going to be surprised by that. I never knew that you could detect something with your heart by looking through your eyes. Pat, what did you learn from the doctors as you continued on in the hospital that was happening to your heart?
Well, they did a number of tests. They did a heart EKG, a CAT scan, spinal tap, and an MRI. And again, I asked the doctor who came in after a couple of days and told me those three things would happen: a major stroke, a major heart attack, or going blind. And, I asked her, was there major reasons for it? And she said, well, number one, stress levels. She said, have you had a lot of stress in your life? And I have. Mom had just passed away, and there was an estate battle within the family that didn't help matters. So that was number one. Secondly, because I was taking care of my mom, I hadn't seen my doctor in about 3 years, which, was foolish, and that'll never happen again. And then thirdly, she said, you do need to lose some weight. That contributes to it also. But no, they, just the fact that I was going in for a half an hour, I thought eye exam, and ended up spending 4 days in a hospital, and almost didn't make it out of the hospital.
Wow.
Like I said, really opened my eyes, and I'll change my ways in the future. I'll never go 6 months without seeing my doctor for a regular physical from this point on.
Pat, you shouldn't beat yourself up about that. So many people watching this can relate to caring for a parent or caring for a loved one. And I'm so sorry for the loss of your mom. You have just been through the ringer. A lot of people skip their appointments during the pandemic. I want to bring Dr. Dendi back into this. What's your reaction as a cardiologist hearing what Pat went through and then the repercussions that happened because he was caring for another person? He wasn't worrying about himself. Is that common?
So if you want to put this into perspective, normal blood pressure reading is on average, the top number of the systolic blood pressure, we call it, is around 120. We call it normal. And what Pat presented to the hospital, to the emergency room, was above 200. So dangerously high level that it could be catastrophic for many reasons. You could have a massive stroke, you can have cardiac arrest, and you could have brain damage. A lot of things can happen with such high levels of blood pressure, especially if it's not treated immediately. Luckily, he was able to get to the hospital in time thanks to Dr. Ajlan and was able to be taken care of. And hypertension is one of the commonest cardiovascular condition that affects millions of people. It's not uncommon at all, and it can be totally managed, but you need to know that it's going on, and sometimes you don't have any symptoms with high blood pressure until it gets to a very, very high status. So as Pat was mentioning, having regular checkup can identify that this is getting out of control and can get treatment initiated right away before it gets too late. And then things happen in life, stressful events happen. We all go through stress, and that can have a very, very large impact on getting your blood pressure out of control. And so the treatment will obviously depend on getting the stressors taken care of. The time sometimes helps, but also the medications, which can immediately bring down the blood pressure from dangerous levels to the point where it can be managed better.
Pat, were you put on a medication?
Yes, I was, and that was another thing. Since I had not seen my doctor in 3 years, you need to see a doctor at least once a year for them to maintain your prescriptions. And so I was taking a couple of prescriptions many years ago, and that kind of fell off the tracks. And so after this happened, I am now taking 2 blood pressure pills and a cholesterol pill daily. So that's what they recommend it for.
And you feel the difference?
Yeah, I feel fine. I feel fine, feel great. Yep.
I want to share something, Dr. Ajlan, that you shared with us about how patient cases are handled here at the health system. No matter what kind of doctor you're seeing, it's collaborative.
What we like here about KU, we have all the specialties there. So I send him to the emergency. I know if he needs a cardiologist, he will be there and see them. He needs a neurologist, they will come and see them. So it's like one station. They will figure everything out, and they will take care of him.
And that's something that we often hear patients talk about, is that they feel like there's a whole team of all these different experts working on their case. Were you able to better understand what was happening with your body and your eyes and your heart, Pat, because of that?
Oh, absolutely. The doctors, starting with Dr. Ajlan and moving on to the hospital, they were great. I saw a number of doctors. They each came in, after the MRI, after the CAT scan, after the spinal tap. Each explained what was going on. And they really gave me a good explanation of what was going on overall.
I want to go to some questions that we're getting from our viewers in the community, and we have one that came in from Linda. Linda has a question for Dr. Ajlan. She wants to know, were they actually floaters that Pat was seeing, or was Pat having something else happen in his eyes that was mimicking floaters? So
that's a good question. So Pat came and he said, I see dark spots. So many people interpret it differently. It wasn't really floaters. It was the areas when he had the bleedings in the back of his eye that was blocking his view, and that's what he thought it was. That what was blocking his view. So he didn't actually have floaters, but he had the hypertensive retinopathy, changes from the blood pressure that was affecting his vision. And that's what we saw.
Jim has a question about floaters.
Yes.
This question might be from my dad, because we both get floaters, so I want to know too. Sure. Is this Are floaters themselves serious?
So if you suddenly have new floaters or suddenly see a lot of new floaters, it can be a normal change that's happening as we get older. Just get your eyes checked immediately just to make sure everything is fine. That didn't cause any tears or breaks in your eye. But if you had floaters from before and you saw your doctor and they told you everything is fine, I'm not worried.
Is there a technical or medical name for floaters? Because we also got a question, someone saying, what the heck are floaters? The only way I can explain it is to me, they're like water droplets on a window pane. That's what they look like, and they're very subtle. But what are they?
What are they? So the medical term is posterior vitreous detachment. What it is our eye, if you imagine the eye like a ball, it's not empty inside. There is a gel that we're born with. With time, that gel starts to get more liquidy and fluid, so it starts moving around, and that's what we see, the parts of the gel moving inside our eyes, and that's what we call floaters.
Okay. Robin wants to know, and this is a question for Dr. Dendi, do you ever refer anyone to an eye doctor seeing something happening in their heart? Does it ever go the reverse way?
Yeah, actually, there are some situations where if we see that, let's say a patient has pretty uncontrollable high blood pressure or diabetes, which can affect both heart and the eyes, we routinely ask them to get eye checkups so that there is no what we call end organ or target organ damage. That means any place that where your blood flow goes that can be affected by high blood pressure or high sugar, right? So, so eye is one of the things that's vital to your day-to-day functioning. So having those checkups, especially if you have those risk factors, is very useful. So we do recommend. We also sometimes recommend for some rare things. For example, if I treat patients with arrhythmias, and one of the medicines that we give to the patient on long-term basis can cause some deposits in the retina, in the back of the eye. So we want them to be followed. The medicine is called amiodarone, and so for those of you taking amiodarone, once a year you need to go to the eye doctor to make sure there are no amiodarone deposits in the back of the eye, and also it can rarely cause inflammation of the optic nerve that goes to the back of the eye. So we routinely recommend patients to see the eye doctor at least once a year, specifically for that reason.
And then you just touched on a question that we also have from a viewer asking, how often do you need to get an eye exam, even if you don't wear glasses and you don't have any vision problems? Dr. Ajlan, how often?
So that's a good question. It depends on the age and what else does the patient have. If we go to the American Academy of Ophthalmology, the recommendation for adults, get at least one full eye exam in your 20s, get at least 2 eye exams in your 30s, and get a complete eye exam once you're 40 years old. And your doctor will let you know how frequent they want to see you afterwards. In general, if someone is 65 years or older, they get their eyes checked every year or 2 for age-related conditions like diabetes, macular degeneration. The recommendation as well is if you have diabetes or high blood pressure or family history of eye disease, get your eyes checked now, and then your doctor will let you know how frequent do they need to see you.
And right now we're sharing video with our viewers of you in action. Doing your thing.
Awesome.
Given an eye exam. If you have any questions,
Oh, may I add one thing too that I failed to mention earlier? I did have a follow-up with Dr. Ajlan about a month and a half, 2 months after I was in the hospital, and the bleeding had subsided completely. There was no more blood. There still was a little bit of swelling, but obviously the medication was working. And actually, I'm going to see him again on April 4th to make sure that the swelling is gone also. So.
It must feel good to see a patient doing so well after you detected something so scary.
I'm happy for Pat, and I'm happy we were here at KU and he got what he needs. So
it's really incredible. We also have a QR code up on our screen right now. If you have any questions on eye care or you'd like more information, if you scan that QR code, it'll take you straight to our eye care homepage where you can find out all about the different types of disorders and different problems that our doctors here treat. Amanda has a great question. Amanda wants to know, are there certain foods you can eat that are good for your heart and good for your eyes? I remember always hearing as a kid carrots. Is that true?
Actually, it is true. So again, the American Academy of Ophthalmology recommended certain foods that can promote the health of your eyes. So carrots and orange colored vegetables, they have a lot of vitamin A, so that's good for the eye. Also vitamin C, so it's like in a lot of vegetables and fruits like oranges and lemon. They recommend also vitamin E foods that have vitamin E like avocados or almonds, and green leafy vegetables like kale or spinach or lettuce has a lot of lutein and zeaxanthin. And for zinc, they say beans or poultry or fish. So those are, like if you want to get those vitamins from the food, some people cannot eat those foods because of other health issues, so they're also available in the vitamin pill.
Dr. Dendi, you're nodding your head vigorously, yes?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Same recommendations?
Yeah, whatever is good for the eye is good for the heart.
Right.
And the key there is trying to get all the vitamins that the body needs through natural form, if possible. You know, all the colored vegetables and green leafy vegetables. We can't overemphasize the importance of having, the antioxidants and the vitamins that are essential for normal day-to-day functioning and prevention of long-term problems in the body.
I'm curious, Pat, have you upped the ante when it comes to eating the types of foods that the doctors are talking about? You introduced any new shakes or drinks or foods into your diet?
Well, yeah, I've tried. I'm doing better. I was never a big fruit or vegetable person, but I'm trying to eat those more often and stay away from food that I know is bad for me. So step in the right direction. Again, I got a ways to go, but like I said, this kind of scared me straight, I guess. And I'll continue to go down that path.
Kale can be a tough one. I try, but it's like eating a tree. But I do try with that. You can put it, you can blend it up, and it tastes pretty good and stuff. Tina has a question. She wants to know what other types of issues can be detected during an eye exam in addition to the heart issues. Dr. Ajlan?
So a common thing is many patients we detect diabetes. We can detect high cholesterol in the eye exam. If somebody had a tumor and have it metastasized to the eye, we detect those and send them immediately to our colleagues. Some other eye infections can give us clues about systemic body infections as well.
Interesting.
And like we have few patients who have, I can tell you my infectious disease doctors know me very well.
Because you're always referring people to different specialists?
Yes.
From what you see looking into their eyes?
Especially like syphilis, viral infections, TB.
That's huge.
Yeah, the eye is the window to the body.
Denise wants to know what would have happened, and I think, Pat, this is probably what scared you straight, what the doctors told you. What would have happened if you hadn't gone to the eye doctor that day? And Pat was told one of 3 very bad things would have happened. How long do you think, I'll start with Dr. Dendi, how long, hearing this, you think he could have put off going to the doctor?
Not very long. The first thing was, Dr. Ajlan will tell you, vision loss would have been, it could be reversible if it's not taken.
Irreversible vision loss.
Yeah. Wow. And then, but more importantly, even going further, with the hypertension crisis, we call it a crisis for a reason. The brain can be affected. You can have altered sensorium. That means patient became disoriented and unable to take care of himself. You can have a stroke, either bleeding stroke or embolic stroke, more commonly a bleeding stroke with this type of situation where suddenly a blood vessel can rupture inside the brain and can cause a massive hemorrhage and causing damage to the brain and causing a major stroke. Again, you could have what we call hypertensive cardiomyopathy and heart failure if that goes on for weeks like that. And in rare cases, if you're already having cholesterol plaques in the arteries, that can get loose and cause a different type of strokes and heart attacks. Gosh. So many things can start from there and become a full-blown clinical syndrome after that.
Angela just asked this question on our Facebook page. Is there always a connection to the heart if you have an eye bleed? I've never heard of someone getting an eye bleed. So is that common?
It's a common thing. Okay. It depends what caused the eye bleed. It can be related to the heart, like someone like Pat when he had like a high blood pressure.
Right.
Some patients on blood thinners, they can have eye bleed. Sometimes if patients rub their eye or get hit to their eye, they'll have an eye bleed.
So it's not always heart related?
Not always, but very many times it's heart related. So
Okay.
I'll say make sure check with your doctor, make sure the blood pressure is fine, and figure out why you're having the bleeding. It's not normal.
Another question to piggyback on that from Facebook. If someone is on blood pressure meds and taking too much, can that cause an eye bleed? Do you want to take that one, Dr. Dendi?
You're saying if somebody took the blood pressure medication.
Is taking too much blood pressure medication, can it cause an eye bleed?
Unlikely, because too much blood pressure can have other problems, like your blood pressure is too low, or if you're having other side effects on the body because of too much of blood pressure medication. But causing eye bleed with too much blood pressure is unlikely.
It can cause eye problems and cause an eye stroke, but it will not be bleeding. So
but you should go
it
to
is
the doctor.
serious.
Yeah, if your eye is bleeding, go to the doctor.
Yes.
That's
Hey, Alexis?
Yes, Pat.
I thought I'd add too that University of Kansas hospital sent me home with a blood pressure machine, so I can regularly track my blood pressure on a daily basis. And the blood pressure has been great, ever since I got home from the hospital. So that gives me a great comfort level also.
That's wonderful. So you have that tool. Did you check it this morning?
I haven't yet checked it this morning, but they usually there's I forget if they said morning. I used to know, but I usually take it after mid-afternoon or so.
Check it after the live television appearance.
Yes, right.
Not right before.
It probably would have been sky high before this, but
for good fun reason though, right?
Yeah, right.
Pat,
right.
do you have any restrictions now, or is life back to normal for you relatively?
Life's back to normal. With Mom being gone, it's changed a little bit for me. I go back and forth between Kansas City and Florida right now, so I'm spending I guess you can call me a snowbird. I'm spending the winter months down in Florida and then back up to Kansas City, which I'll be heading here in about 3 or 4 weeks for a good 6 months. But I just, a little bit more careful, trying to take better care of myself for the most part.
Do you have meditations that you do, or yoga, or anything? I know we talked about lifestyle change and medicines. What do you do if you start getting in the weeds? Do you have any tricks or things you do?
Yeah, I have an iWatch, so I try to get my 10,000 steps in every day, religiously. Nice. And if I'm only at 5,000 at 8 o'clock at night, I'll just walk around the house until I get to that level. So that's the main thing. I used to be a runner in my younger days. I haven't done that recently, but try to get the steps in to make sure that I'm keeping active.
Pat, I want to bring you and both of our doctors back in for some final thoughts. And Pat, I want to start with you for this. When you look back to where you were emotionally and physically the day you went in to see Dr. Ajlan and where you are now, you must feel so many emotions knowing how close you came to something bad happening.
I consider myself very lucky, and I want to thank Dr. Ajlan again on air. He literally saved my life.
My pleasure.
So, if he hadn't sent me to the hospital that day, I probably wouldn't be talking to you today.
Wow. Dr. Ajlan, how do you respond to that?
I'm speechless, Pat. I'm so happy for you, and I feel like my condolences for your mom, but I'm happy you're doing well and you're getting those 10,000 steps every day. I'm proud of you, Pat. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Congratulations on getting everything in order. I think the take home from this experience is that a lot of times we focus on things that cause certain symptoms that you run to the hospital for. High blood pressure and diabetes are the two silent killers of our society. Mm-hmm. And I cannot overemphasize the importance of screening for those two and getting them under control, because by the time you develop symptoms with either of those, it's too late. Mm-hmm. A lot of times the damage is already begun. But if you're doing preventive maintenance, those are the two conditions that can save you a lot of trips to hospital and medications in the long run.
Pat, we're so glad you're here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, doctors, and thank you, Alexis. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. And again, we're sorry about your mom. She must be really proud of you, though, and you gave her such a gift, caring for her, and that's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
We want to bring you one more segment this episode, and it's one that we love. It's called Behind the Mask. It's where we love to give you a little peek behind the curtain at what our doctors are like on a personal level when they're not saving lives. So let's start with Dr. Ajlan. We know you love the Chiefs, Dr. Ajlan. You love the Chiefs. You love to travel. But I want to start with the Chiefs. Were you watching the Super Bowl in Arizona in front of a TV here at a party?
No, here in the party. So I go to my friends' family place, and it's the same group of people who gathered 2 years ago when we won. So this year, I did everything the same. I came after the first quarter. I brought the same things. Everybody stayed in the same place.
Superstitious.
And we won.
Did you wear the same socks, the same pants,
the
same everything?
shirt? I don't remember the socks, but the same shirt.
Right. Well, thank God you did, or maybe we wouldn't be talking about it. And you love to travel as well.
Yes, I love to travel.
We have some travel pictures. What are your favorite spots? And okay, where are you?
Oh, here. It looks like San Francisco, I think, or yeah, I think so.
San
the bridge.
Francisco?
So I like to go anywhere near water, like any beach, like any city that has a beach. I would love to go there. This is, I think, Vancouver.
Beautiful. And I know you like pizza. I heard a rumor you love pizza. And we have a picture of you enjoying some, Lake Michigan is water. Is this near Lake Michigan?
No, my brother used to live in Boston. So that's my brother. So I will find any excuse to go and try deep dish pizza. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Chicago.
Chicago. Okay, good. I was going to say.
Yeah, I was in Boston, but I was flying to Chicago. Yeah.
Nice. Now we're hungry. Okay, Dr. Dendi, you're up. Let's see what happens behind the mask. I want to start with your family because you have an adorable picture here. Who are we looking at?
So you're looking at my daughter who was graduating from high school last year, and my wife, and my son who's in college, and he's going to be graduating from college this year.
What college?
He's in Cleveland, Case Western University.
Is he going to be a cardiologist?
He wants to be an engineer.
Oh, wow. Another smart. So you got smarty pants in your family. Doctors and engineers. And you love being outdoors as well. We have pictures of you hiking and golfing. And where are you here? That looks like.
So this is on the top, almost to the top of Pikes Peak, which is in Colorado.
That's more than hiking. You're climbing.
Yes.
At that point.
It was pretty hard, but I was so proud of getting there. This is just before it becomes really tough. We have in these steps that certainly take off before you reach the summit. So we were celebrating before making it. So we were so glad we made it, though it was very hard. It took us for a long time to get there.
Making it to where that picture was taken is more than a lot of people. And here you're nice form. Okay, you're a golfer. Yeah. You ever got a hole-in-one?
No, but this is a wannabe thing. I don't get to golf much, and I'm a wannabe in the future. That's my aspirational thing.
You got to go hang out with Pat in Florida.
That's right.
Plenty of golfing down there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You are all wonderful. Again, thank you both for joining us, Dr. Dendi and Dr. Ajlan. And Pat, thank you so much for sharing your journey. You're going to help a lot of people.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Subscribe to our podcast, now everywhere podcasts are available.